All right, the Celtics kick off their playoff run Sunday against the Orlando Magic. First up is the Magic. Joining me now is Dan Roche. And Dan, always a fun time of year. And the Celtics obviously heavy favorites in this matchup against the Magic. But what are you hoping to see from the Celtics as they go for banner number 19 this year?
I think the cool thing from last year, Joe, was from the regular season to each playoff series, they got better. And they kept getting better. And it was almost game to game with the Celtics group last year. So now you hope that they learn from winning a championship and what that's all about and take that into this series against the Orlando Magic and sit there and say, okay, this is what we want to do. A young team, a hungry team that doesn't know what it's doing, that was 41-41 and won a play-in game. You need to stop them game 1, game 2, and then you're going to get pushback game 3. But eliminate them in 4 and 5 games. That's what you want out of this series, I think, if you're a Celtic.
And obviously everybody's talking about Jaylen Brown and that right knee. He sat out the final 3 games. You actually just had a chance to chat with Celtics owner Wyc Grousbeck about Jaylen Brown. What did he say about how Jaylen's feeling coming into this series?
He said the same thing pretty much Joe Mazzulla has said all week, that he watched him practice. He looked like Jaylen Brown always does and practiced that way and hopefully plays that way. That's the one thing I think people got the concern that they saw Jaylen Brown limping noticeably down. Was it in Orlando? Was that last time we saw him noticeably limping? I think you want to see a healthy enough Jaylen Brown to play the way Jaylen Brown does. And going back to last year's playoffs, he seemed to start the team. He seemed to get them going with shooting threes, playing good defense, and then driving the lane, kind of that intensity and bringing that. That's what you want to see out of Jaylen Brown, and you hope that there's no issues. I think he's managed this knee injury for a long time, and he's just going to have to manage it through the playoffs as we go.
This is an interesting matchup. I mean, the Celtics are 61-21. By many people's standards, the favorite, going into the NBA playoffs this year again. But this Orlando team, they're 27th in offensive efficiency, but they're one of the top teams in defensive efficiency. And when they've played against the Celtics, one thing they have done is limit the threes. And we know that Joe Mazzulla wants his team to shoot a lot of threes. But the times in which they played them, in which they've really mattered this year, they've done a nice job limiting that. So how do the Celtics try to maybe combat that if the Magic's game plan is to once again do that type of stuff?
I think it's different in the playoffs, right? So you're going to see that intensity from the Celtics group, and you're also going to see players like Jayson Tatum didn't play in 2 out of the 3 games that the Celtics played the Orlando Magic. That in itself is totally different, which kind of makes it meaningless for me in the regular season. And I think you want to see a barrage of threes because that's what the Celtics do. That's what they're known for. And now it's playoff time. So you want to see Tatum, you want to see Brown, Porzingis, all the way through. Horford, Holiday, White, on and on. Just bombard them with threes because let's face it, I think Orlando is a good defensive team on paper, but I don't think they can score with the Celtics. So if you're the Celtics, outscore them and try to get up into that 110 range, 120 range. The higher the Celtics go, it should be the better off for them and kind of squashing a young team. What you don't want to have happen in this series, Joe, is a young team to find out that we're just playing with house money, we got nothing to lose, and we're rolling and get rolling. That's what you don't want.
Yeah, you want to see the Celtics of last year than the one
defense
maybe
first.
Right, exactly, and not the one from years prior where they let teams kind of get them into deep playoff series, and then that ultimately catches up later in the postseason. What is interesting about this playoff run is that yes, Jayson Tatum has won a ring, but I think the NBA discourse around him maybe hasn't given him the full respect because he didn't win the Eastern Conference MVP or the Finals MVP last year. So he's got the ring. That's now taken care of. But how important do you think this playoff run is for him, and especially to get off on the right foot here against the Magic?
I think maybe it's more important he wants another ring, right? I think if that's all Jayson Tatum needs to focus on. If he can help his team win, and I think we're finding he's a different player. He's different than LeBron. He's different than Jokic. He's different than a lot of these guys like Luka Doncic. That he doesn't need to win the game by himself. And I think he's realized that. That's, to me, what's been special in watching Jayson Tatum grow. He continually gets better and better game to game to game. He can dish. He can go to the rim. He can shoot the 3. He's got that killer instinct now. So I think just continued progression of Tatum, and I think it'll be fine because if he continues to do that and they win another ring, his legacy continues to get set when it comes to his NBA career.
And now this postseason, we asked the question to ourselves and just about this team, about Kristaps Porzingis. And they won a title last year, even though he was out for a significant portion of the postseason run, came back for the finals. Game 1, everybody remembers how good he was. How important is it that he stays healthy, do you think, for this postseason run this year?
I think it's just it's a wish more than anything. I want to see just how good this team can be with Porzingis healthy. It's almost like if you've been watching the Celtic City docuseries, when the Celtics acquired Bill Walton, they became unstoppable. And we kind of look at that like right now with Porzingis. When Porzingis is healthy and doing what he does, they're almost unstoppable.
Yeah, they are.
That's what you want to see from Porzingis, especially against a team that has big players in size in Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. They're their two best players. So if you can get Porzingis to mix him in with Horford, and Luke Cornett, who's had a really good year, mix him into the mix here too. So I think a lot of things will be good for this Celtics team.
What's your over-under for Peyton Pritchard half-court threes this series?
Cover him, right?
Yeah.
I would bet Sam Hauser or something like that, right? Somebody else to hit the shot, because after what we saw last year and this year, it's like cover him, right? Just double team him, triple team him. Don't let anybody else beat you but Pritchard. So I'd go under.
And he could be a sixth man of the year this year. Yes. I think he will be. So.
And that's been a good step to watch too, is here's a guy who could be making more money as an all-star guard somewhere else on a lesser team, but wants to stay here, wants to be a part of this rotation. So I think that's part of this, the selflessness of this Celtics team.
And it all starts Sunday, the postseason run for the Celtics against the Orlando Magic, hoping for a quick series. And Dan, fun time of year. Appreciate the time.
It's awesome. It's great to have Celtics basketball back. More people said that to me this week. I just can't wait to watch them in the playoffs.
It's a fun time. It's one of your busiest times of the year.
It's always busy in the sports department.
That's true. Never a dull moment.
Nope.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.